The cases came through his handpicked FBI director. And frankly, when people sit around and say things like, oh, we're happy because now we feel safe, I don't know who feels safe in this country except for the white supremacists, because I specifically as a black woman definitely don't feel safe.
Shalom. First, I can start off by giving all glory and honor to Yahweh, Shem Yahushai, Shem HaKakadash. Double honors and teachers, elders, and apostles of great millstone, likewise, brothers putting on this truth. Faithfully, fearlessly feeding the sheep and two brothers and sisters tuning in. Shalom. Today's lesson is titled Travails of a Wicked Kingdom. Let's take a look at the word travail, and this is the online etymology dictionary, and it means hard labor, physical toil. You scroll down a little bit, it means work, labor, toil, suffering, or painful effort, trouble, arduous journey from travailer. Okay, let's look into the AI meaning online, and it means travails are difficult and painful experiences or hardship, often involving painful, burdensome work or suffering. Okay, and this is what Great Babylon America is going through right now, because remember a couple months ago you had Donald Trump, okay, saying that America is going to go through a hard time as he tries to make America great again. But we know from the scriptures that America will never be great again. And we can see, okay, the division that's taking place here. Now in this lesson, I have several clips, from today's news, and articles, and you're going to see basically what I sum up to be a clown show. And if this man wasn't so dangerous, if these people were not so dangerous, and if we didn't know that this is all part of prophecy, that eventually this place will succumb to its wickedness, okay, it would be laughable. Okay, it's really a clown show. Okay, let's go into the scriptures here, because Esau, okay, the so-called white man, okay, or the so-called white race of people whose seed line goes back to Abraham, Isaac, and Esau, okay, the true biblical Hebrew Israelites, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the 12 tribes, so-called blacks and Americans and Latino. Okay, these people, unlike the other tribes on this earth, have not dealt with hardship and suffering and travails. We as Hebrew Israelites, we've constantly dealt with it since we were brought over here as slaves. This is the book of Psalm 73, and starting in verse 5, and it reads, "They are not in trouble as other men, neither are they plagued like other men. Therefore pride compasseth them about as a chain, violence covereth them as a garment. Their eyes stand out with fatness, they have more than heart could wish." I'll stop there before I finish it. Okay, so key words or key terms to think about when what I just read. Okay, they're not plagued like other men. They're not in trouble. Okay, they're prideful and they're extremely violent. Okay, and historically, the so-called white man, all he has done is brought violence to other tribes, other nations, and we right now here in Great Babylon America are experiencing the wrath of this man. They have everything. They have all the wealth. And if they don't have it, they go and they take it by force, by violence. Continuing, it says, "They are corrupt and speak wickedly concerning oppression. They speak lawfully." So they make light of our slavery. They make light of the hardship that we have suffered under their rulership. They make light of the hardship and the suffering of these other nations on this earth. And these other tribes that have tried to imitate the so-called white man and his ways, they are now suffering. They are now suffering because they have indulged in all of the wickedness that the so-called white man, okay, has been able to perpetrate without having to answer for all of his wickedness. But that's coming to an end. So let's go into the experiences that the people here in Great Babylon America are feeling to this day. Okay, so I'm going to play the short clip and then we're going to go into the scripture.
This is the ironic paradox. Nominal wages have increased, but real income, the money you take to the market, the gas station, the pharmacy, has stagnated or even declined. You earn a few extra dollars, but your medical bills skyrocket, rent soars, and the cost of a Costco basket doubles. The result? The wallet of the middle-class American is like a leaky bucket. The more you pour in, the more leaks out. The economic system seems to have allowed basic costs, housing, healthcare, food, to rise faster than any wage increases. The government might say inflation is decreasing, but ask the people swiping credit cards at Walmart. When faced with the choice between buying medicine for their wives or milk for their children, they don't need a CPI chart. They need a decent meal.
Now, as you saw in that clip, okay, what they're talking about is written in the Bible as things to take place, specifically here in Great Babylon, America. In fact, when we go into 2nd Ezra chapter 15 and start verse 10, it reads, "Behold, my people is led as a flock to the slaughter. I will not suffer them now to dwell in the land of Egypt," which we know this place is known as spiritual Sodom in Egypt. "But I will bring them with a mighty hand and a stretched out arm, and smite Egypt," America, "with plagues as before, and will destroy all the land thereof," which we know the final or the cumulative act of the Lord Yahweh Shai against this wicked kingdom is going to be complete and utter destruction, which the world will witness. Egypt shall mourn, and the foundations of it shall be smitten with the plague and punishment that power shall bring upon it. And we see that happening right now. Okay, people are losing their mind. It says, "They that till the ground shall mourn, for their seed shall fail through the blasting and hail, and with a fearful consolation," meaning you will work yourself to death. And the short clip I just showed you is showing that the wages are stagnant, but yet still everything is quadrupling in price. Okay, and you have so much corruption, which right now is just it's coming to a standstill because this wicked queendom, as I like to refer to it, it cannot continue on. This is the end. In fact, when you go to Revelation 6 and 5, you see where this is going to really, come to fruition. Okay, which is going to be devastating. It says, "And when he had opened the third seal, I heard the third beast say, Come and see. And I beheld, and lo, a black horse, and he that sat on him had a pair of balances in his hand. And I heard a voice in the midst of the four beasts say, A measure of wheat for a penny, and 3 measures of barley for a penny. And see thou hurt not the oil and the wine." The rich, they never get hurt. Okay, they're not feeling it. Again, the Amalekites, the people who are the short callers, okay, they're not feeling it. These wealthy, trillionaires, they're not feeling it, but the poor are feeling it. Now, in these next 2 clips here, I'm going to show you back to back. It's going to show you what's taking place in these other nations around the world. Okay, and we have seen this here in Great Babylon, America. Protesting. People, speaking, their displeasure for, what's happening to them, the rulership that's over them, that's not working for the people, it's working for the elites. Okay, and we are seeing now, this is now, again, like I mentioned earlier, because these other nations, these other tribes on this earth have tried to imitate Great Babylon, America, have drunk off that cup, okay, and become drunk of the philosophies of Great Babylon, America. They're now suffering because Great Babylon, America right now are ruled by a bunch of clowns and morons. Okay, the wisdom is taken out of Teman. They no longer, are making decisions that's for the benefit of the people. In fact, let's go into 2nd Ezra 9 and start verse 1. It reads, "He answered me then and said, Measure thou the time diligently in itself, and when thou seest part of the signs pass, which I have told thee before, then shalt thou understand that it is the very same time wherein the highest will begin to visit the world which he made." Is Yahweh Shai going to come physically here and visit it? No, he's bringing that judgment. I brought that out in 2nd Ezra 15, okay, where Yahweh Shai, is going to preserve his elect here and then judge Egypt as he did before with plagues. Okay, and those plagues are going to manifest in many different categories. Okay, beasts of the field, famine, the sword, okay, pestilence, okay, and then the final destruction of Great Babylon, America. Continuing, it says, "Therefore, when there shall be seen earthquakes and uproars of the people in the world, then shalt thou well understand that the Most High spake of those things from the days that were before thee, even from the beginning. So it was already written. It's already written. We as the prophets are the one that's coming out and just speaking the words that's already been written, okay, to let everybody know, in particular to feed the elect and make sure the sheep are not led astray, okay, by, the false dreams of these people who are looking to make America great again. So check out these 2 videos.
This skull flag has been raised here, here, and here. What is it, and why is it popping up at protests across the world? In Kathmandu last week, Nepali Gen Z led tens of thousands of protesters into the streets, furious over government corruption. In Indonesia, protests swelled after a 21-year-old was killed by police. Elsewhere, crowds took to the streets in the Philippines and France. So, what does the flag mean? Well, it comes from Japan's best-selling manga, One Piece. In the story, the flag is the Jolly Roger of the Straw Hat Pirates, who don't just hunt treasure, but also fight oppressive powers and demand freedom. For protesters, that message hits home.
Justru ini kan teguran ya untuk pemerintah. Agar pemerintah pada akhirnya benar-benar melihat gitu.
The protests around the world may have different origins, but the frustrations are the same. That's why young people have turned this skull flag into a global banner of defiance and freedom.
Meanwhile, President Trump announcing plans to designate Antifa as a terrorist organization, saying this, quote, "I am pleased to inform our many USA patriots that I'm designating Antifa as a sick, dangerous, radical left disaster, as a major terrorist organization. I will also be strongly recommending that those funding Antifa be thoroughly investigated in accordance with the highest legal standards and practices." Fox News contributor Ben Dominich joins us now. Ben, they're not just an ideology, they're a violent group. This was the right move, right?
Well, yes, it was. Lawrence, I will caution that, this is a move that the president actually made near the end of his term in 2020, though at the time that he made it, there wasn't really the opportunity to lean into it the way that I believe this second administration is going to. Namely that Antifa, to your point, is not just some vague ideology, as we were told by Christopher Wray and others at the time.
Right.
It's actually an organized group, and they've performed organized activity across the country in attacking, multiple different places, cities and facilities, including most recently in North Texas, where someone attacked an ICE facility there. This is a situation where you have these domestic terror cells that are organizing online, and they deserve to be investigated, particularly when it comes to the financial backing that they receive, which really has been a black box to this point. We deserve to know more about how they're getting funded.
Ben, why do you think there was hesitance from the politicians as well as not the rank and file law enforcement because they know it, but the political appointee law enforcement to do this?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that one of the things that has been an item of awareness for quite a long time is that this last administration under Joe Biden leaned heavily into targeting various conservative groups, right, Christian groups, and the like for all sorts of investigation. Really, I think in many instances abusing their power and framing them falsely as white supremacist groups and the like. And I think that this administration is basically saying, look, you took your eye off the ball. Those groups were never a threat to the American people. They never represented an actual violent threat, and instead you persecuted them. We're now going to use the full force of the law to go after the people who really do represent violent threats across the country, and I think this is part of a stepped-up attitude. And frankly, if Democrats want to defend Antifa and go down that road, as I saw David Axelrod and others suggesting this was going to be some kind of political witch hunt,
incredible.
I think that more power to them. I think it's absolutely detestable, and the truth is that anyone who wants law, order, and a non-chaotic streets in our cities across the country should be in favor of knowing more about what Antifa is doing before they do it.
Yeah, they had no problem arresting the praying grandma in the Capitol, but the people that are setting buildings on fire, let's not go too far.